Kirk got shot.
Look, I haven't seen anything that's confirmed.
Whoa.
Murder for having a different opinion from somebody else.
Interesting.
Okay, why? Wait.
Joe Rogan, as you are aware, has never shied away from difficult situations. His skepticism, however, has this time triggered a storm of controversy that goes well beyond the boundaries of his studio. In a recent podcast, the comedian and host unintentionally implied that Charlie Kirk's death circumstances were out of the ordinary. And before the video even concluded, the entire internet focused on another name, Erica, Kirk's widow. We are joined by my spouse, Erica Kirk, the stunning, renowned Erica. I adore you very lot. You have my love. You are my closest companion. Here at Charlie Kirk, welcome. The question was no longer simply what had transpired. It was the one who gained the most from his absence. Every hint of interest, for some reason, went directly to one man, former President Donald Trump. It is quite difficult, yet he did, surprisingly, pray for his adversaries. Joe Rogan's tone was clear even though he made no accusations. The death of the founders of Turning Point USA is becoming an increasingly bizarre narrative. It was unusual, Rogan said. A single word, yet it was sufficient to create a door of doubt that no one dared to enter. When Rogan said, something strange was going on. And I felt it. Charlie Kirk's death shocked the political world. It happened in front of thousands of people during what appeared to be a routine stop on his speaking tour. The suspect allegedly brought a World War II artifact with him, which caused a sudden commotion. He then vanished under mysterious circumstances before being arrested a few hours later. Joe Rogan didn't try to remain neutral when he first learned about the case. Now, it seems that the story is that this is his grandfather's World War I rifle, and it doesn't have a serial number. Well, that's interesting. The idea that someone could disassemble a centuries-old object and reassemble it in minutes with such accuracy seemed so unbelievable that it was absurd, but Rogan's skepticism didn't end there. He started by pointing out how everything seemed so well planned. The investigation was proceeding so swiftly that it was suspicious. The motive was so neatly announced, and the entire situation fits eerily into the tense political landscape in the United States. But first, how did he get to the investigation? Roof? Why wasn't anyone looking? Why wasn't anyone saying, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check. You don't have a drone. Like, that's insane. He ended by expressing his wish that he could be the one to explore and find out for himself what actually occurred. Was enough to start a discussion that many had attempted to avoid. If I had been in charge of the inquiry, I would have walked, declared. This story doesn't add up, as he entered the room. Many of the specifics don't add up. In a matter of hours, Rogan's seemingly casual comment took on a life of its own on the internet, with skeptics writing, throw in a bunch of weird details, pieces that don't make sense, and let them all come out at once. There was concern that he might not only be referring to a suspect, but also hinting at something deeper, a connection that had made Erica Kirk a talking point. Erica, who is 36, exudes a certain vibe. To be fair, no one claimed to know everything, but to Rogan's followers, it all looked too neat. They listened to the podcast repeatedly, analyzing every pause and lip curl, and were convinced that his skepticism about the timeline was more than just a technical or a logistical issue. She was elected to lead the very organization her husband had built from scratch after his funeral. She is now the new CEO of Turning Point USA, a podcast host, former beauty pageant contestant, and entrepreneur. The internet did its job, connecting the dots, creating its own narrative, and transforming the suspicion into a viral whirlwind in a matter of hours. To many, Joe Rogan's words sounded like a veiled statement that there might be a carefully calculated setup behind it all, an elaborate cover-up designed to make the public believe that everything was closed when the truth might still be lurking somewhere. They were plausible, skillfully stitched together in a political climate as tense as a taut wire. Posts, clippings, and thousands of comments. People recreated timelines, analyzed frames, and declared this story the conspiracy of the century. However, it was a video that truly ignited the internet. Within a packed stadium, surrounded by hundreds of cameras and a number of prominent political figures, former President Donald Trump took the podium to pay tribute to Charlie Kirk. His voice was clear, deep, and full of emotion. Trump turned to the widow, Erica Kirk, and, with the crowd still standing, he put his arms around her. The woman was shaking and wiping away the last of her tears, so he pulled her closer, bent his head, and whispered something in her ear. This gesture seemed warm and sharing, but to many viewers, it carried a strange energy, too intimate, too familiar. And in the age of social media, a moment like that takes only a few seconds to ignite a sea of speculation. As the video went viral, the conversation started to change. About the loss, but about the body language, the look, the fact that she didn't move away when Trump held her. Some saw it as real comfort, but others thought it was more like a moment full of hidden meaning, a political drama expertly staged for the camera. The videos were played in slow motion, cut close, and each frame was examined as proof. Some observed Erica looking up at the sky and making an "I love you" sign with her hands, a detail that sent social media into a frenzy. Was it merely an emotional reaction, or was it a message sent without words? Background music fades, breathing slows, voice softens, and so in a matter of hours, It was a time when, as many say, the pain turned into a script, and every picture and every pause in the video became a fragment of another story, one that no one dared to say was true, but no one dared to say it was impossible. Erica is not your typical widow. Before she was known as Erica Kirk, she was a well-known figure in the media and beauty industries. Discussions about grief were entirely replaced by conversations about relationships, about the chemistry between two people, about the intimacy without words, about looks and gestures that seemed to transcend the confines of a memorial service. Used to refer to her as Erica France, a social activist, model, and most notably, a prominent contestant in the Miss USA pageant when Donald Trump still owned the contest. In 2012, among hundreds of attractive young faces from across the states, the 23-year-old girl from Arizona made a lasting impression with her quiet smile and self-assured manner. Beyond her role as a contestant, Erica demonstrated the traits of an intelligent woman who knows how to use her image to inspire, and an unseen connection was created between Erica France, who was trying to establish herself in the entertainment industry, and Donald Trump, the powerful man who controls the entire platform of the biggest beauty pageant in America. At the time, Trump was known for his hands-on management style. He frequently attended rehearsals, occasionally made unexpected appearances backstage, and even helped choose potential faces. As a result, many people thought Trump knew exactly who she was when she took the stage, and he was undoubtedly impressed. After the pageant, Erica did not go away like many other beauties. Instead, she continued to show up at fundraisers, entertainment shows, and charity events that Trump and powerful people frequently attended. In that glittering world where business, beauty, and politics merged, the distinction between personal and professional relationships became. Although there has never been any documentation or witnesses to confirm a personal relationship between Erica and Trump at that time, the traces of their intersection between the spotlight, the media, and power have left the public wondering whether that connection did not truly end or whether it paved the way for what is happening today, where a woman who was once a contestant in the spotlight now stands shoulder to shoulder with one of the most powerful figures in America. As time passed, the coincidences raised questions. Did Trump know Erica before she met Charlie? No one could say for sure, but the way their orbits of events, organizations, and power networks intersected made the story seem too coincidental. Then, Turning Point USA, the organization Charlie Kirk founded and devoted his life to creating, abruptly announced that his wife, E. On paper, it was a worthy continuation, a way to honor the legacy of the deceased, but to many observers, it wasn't that simple. The announcement seemed too hasty, too convenient, and too coincident with the signals of support from a familiar name, Donald Trump, because no one thought that such a significant decision could be made without his approval. According to some sources close to the matter, if Trump doesn't object, it means he's given the green light. The hall's lights were shining when Erica took the stage on Inauguration Day. dressed in all black, looking poised, powerful, and in control. She said, "You have no idea of the fire this woman carries within her," as she stood tall, self-assured, and seemingly ready for a new chapter, one that was not just about love, but also about power and influence, instead of the image of a woman bowing her head next to a coffin. The voice of this widow will be heard globally. Her voice was loud, resonant, almost practiced, and the remarks, which were recorded from several perspectives, went viral on social media. It was no longer a farewell, but a declaration of someone rising up. The words, gestures, and stage lighting all had the color of a campaign speech rather than a memorial. Erica Kirk spoke of carrying on her late husband's mission and the conservative movement's torch, which she continued to carry. Her voice rang out steadily, a promise, a vow, and also, for many, a signal that she was ready to take her late husband's place. Donald Trump made an appearance shortly after, praising her in public and saying, "She is a warrior." The statement stirred up public opinion, with many believing that Trump had officially granted Erica the legitimacy of her new status. It was as if the torch left by Charlie had been passed right in front of the public. For supporters, it was a heartwarming moment, a widow turning her grief into action, continuing her husband's ideals. However, for skeptics, it appeared to be a staged scenario where the loss was simply the backdrop for a new rise to power. The way Trump looked at her, the way she smiled, bowed, and, for some, Erica was a strong woman who rose from tragedy, turned pain into motivation, and continued the path her husband left behind. For others, particularly those who were still haunted by what Joe Rogan once said, it all seemed too perfect. The timing, the lighting, the gesture, the speech, and the symbol of her raising her hand in the middle of the hall. The way the lights hit her at the exact moment she raised her hand, like a carefully choreographed ritual, created a dramatic image, a picture so perfect that many wondered if this was an accident or if it was intentional. As for Joe Rogan, who has been known to point out oddities, he sees it not as a conspiracy, but as a sign of the times, a time when tragedy can be packaged, framed, and broadcast as a campaign. For Rogan, it's not just dubious. It's disappointing. While the memorial service clip may have seemed odd to viewers, Erica's nearly instantaneous transformation from a grieving wife to a powerful and polished political figure made the story seem like a real-life political drama. In the podcast, Joe Rogan speaks hororously, not out of drama, but out of genuine sadness and anger, criticizing a segment of the online audience for turning other people's tragedies into entertainment by creating memes, cutting clips, mocking, and even applauding something they didn't fully understand. "It's scary," Rogan said, acknowledging that the official version is true, but what really bothers him is how the country seems to be pulling further apart in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. His voice fell in that instant. He was no longer a host trying to stir up controversy, but a real person. He was observing how society has lost its ability to empathize, and the question is no longer one of right or wrong, but rather a more general one. Why have we become so insensitive to one another's tragedies? If everything, from facts to emotions, can be made into viral content, then is anything real anymore? The music softens, his voice falters a little, and Erica doesn't say anything. He's not a confrontational person. That day, he was just talking with students, sharing, conversing, and asking questions. Then came the moment that sent fans into a frenzy. Almost by accident, Rogan blurted out in the middle of the conversation, "There are a lot of weird streets around this." The debate never really ended because there was no explanation or correction. A brief declaration, but one that gained momentum on the internet. For hours, the website. When Rogan talked about mismatched stories and someone covering their tracks, the audience did the math. With Cyber Detective, Rogan stopped talking about suspects and instead pointed to the shadows, people who seemed to have come out of the incident with more influence, more resources, and somehow a stronger position. The community replayed the clip frame by frame, analyzing every pause, every glance, and every tone. Rogan didn't name anyone, not Erica, not Trump, no direct attribution. They compared minute-by-minute timelines, mapped locations, marked the characters' paths, pinned close-ups, handshakes, nods, half smiles, and asked, "Is this a diplomatic protocol or a signal?" Not only did Rogan continue to feed the rumors, but the internet went into full-on investigation mode in the days that followed. A handshake in the corridor, camera angle, standing position, and who touched whom first were all used as conversation points for every picture taken following Erica's memorial service. One group recreated the seating map, investigated the movement route behind the scenes. Another group gathered clips from various angles, slowed down to 25x, and subtitled each quote in the margins. No one made any conclusions, but seemingly insignificant details, like a slight nod on stage or a moment standing next to the right person at the right time, quickly became pieces of the bigger picture that the community is painting. A snapshot becomes a signal, a mistake becomes a hidden meaning. A quick glance is interpreted as a tacit agreement. Background music rises and falls, and everyone adds a new question. The heat of public opinion magnifies every small sign. In parallel, there's a wave of lengthy articles, some of which emphasize the right to ask questions, others call for calm verification, and some say bluntly that we are witnessing an image campaign. One thing becomes even clearer in this divided picture. In the midst of this whirlwind, Erica's image is increasingly appearing at conferences, meetings, on stages, and in hallways. The distance between people, the order in which they appear, and the length of each polite hug are all weighed. For advocates, she is a symbol of resilience, turning grief into action. For skeptics, she is the focal point of a story that is too well-rounded to be questioned. Silence does not cool the story. Rather, it raises the temperature. What the internet ultimately discovers is not silence, but a complex noise. The noise of clips on clips, theories on theories, and a society that wants to believe and doubt. And the question that remains is, are we searching for truth, or are we just seeking a story that fits our own beliefs? Erica is everywhere these days, on stages, in brightly lit auditoriums, at political conferences, conservative dinners, and even in the White House, often standing directly next to the former president, sometimes introducing him with a confident voice, and other times standing quietly behind him, smiling subtly. However, wherever they are, even if it's only for a short time, their proximity is always close enough to start endless online conversations. For some, it appears to be a political mentorship in progress, where Trump is mentoring a young voice, a new face for the movement he once led, but for others, it's more personal. There is an indescribable energy behind the seemingly ordinary glances and gestures. Pictures of them together went viral, and their body language spoke louder than any press release. There was a gentle gaze, a light touch in the middle of a conversation, and a secret smile as he tilted his head to whisper something in her ear. Despite the media explosion, neither of them responded. There was no confirmation or denial. Erica kept posting religious status updates, Bible verses, church photos, and messages of faith, thankfulness, and a mission to keep spreading light in a troubled world. Trump, who is rarely silent, decided to make no statement this time. There were no tweets or explanations, just pictures of him and Erica together with well-planned lighting. However, in the age of the internet, silence doesn't stop the rumors. It feeds them, and the more silence, the more they spread. In the meantime, Joe Rogan remains at the center of the wave, not because he started it, but because he lives in the gray area between skepticism and belief, between laughter and philosophy, part comedian, part philosopher, and part, if possible, someone who makes the world question. Erica and Trump have become the subject of hundreds of discussion threads, from podcasts to commentary shows to thousands of TikTok analysis videos. People have collaged photos, compared timestamps, compared body language, and created dozens of different scenarios, each as certain as if they had experienced it firsthand. His audience knows no boundaries or party lines. Believers, skeptics, leftists, and rightists all listen because, whether they love him or hate him, they know one thing: Rogan dares to say things others dare not touch. This world is strange, and sometimes silence is louder than words. Slow background music, thoughtful tone, and in that context, Erica still walked amid applause, suspicious looks, and a story that no longer seemed to belong to her alone. Therefore, when he says that Charlie Kirk's story is strange, it's no longer a casual remark. Rather, it's like a small crack in the foundation that quickly spreads into a public earthquake. Rogan doesn't just question the investigation, whether he meant to or not. He sent a shockwave through the conservative political landscape because if there was any connection at all between Donald Trump's condescending presence, Erica's ascent, and Charlie Kirk's departure, then it wasn't a rumor but rather a political earthquake that was just waiting to happen. This was the Rogan effect. A fleeting thought, and all of a sudden a national tragedy turned into a cultural arena where truth, power, and celebrity collided like a soap opera. Whether he meant to or not, Rogan sat in the middle of the storm, watching the flames spread, knowing that one sentence from him, no matter how brief, would be enough to change the entire course of the story. Erica stayed posed, appearing on stage leading Turning Point USA events with a confident voice, Bible verses ringing out like a declaration about faith, about purpose, and about preserving the flame of faith. She avoids interviews. When asked, she gives a small smile and responds, "This is not the time to talk about the past," falling into the personal no response, no emotion, no question trap. The time to create the future is now. Supporters refer to this as the power of silence. Skeptics see in that composure a flawless media strategy that is planned with every frame, word, and glance. Background music is played, and the tone is enigmatic. However, one thing is certain, regardless of whether you believe it or not, from a woman standing in the darkness of loss, the world, whether inquisitive or doubtful, can't take their eyes off Erica Kirk now that she's in the spotlight. Critics argue that her image, always smiling, strong, and composed, is unsuited to the storm raging around her name, but perhaps her best course of action at the moment is to remain silent. Donald Trump also opted for silence, not denying or confirming, but simply continuing to appear alongside Erica as a political ally, which only served to fuel the rumors. As for Joe Rogan, maybe he just did what he always does. Throw questions into the fire and wait to see what burns. But this time, those questions struck a sensitive chord with the entire society, where truth, power, and loss are all intertwined. Ironically, Charlie Kirk, who once founded a movement based on the belief in truth, now became a mystery when the story surrounding him and his widow became one that the entire world was unable to stop trying to unravel.